Okay. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. Welcome.
Surprise class for all of us.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who normally does Wednesdays, but this week it's me.
Normally it's Rabbi Smith.
Okay. So he has returned.
Yes,
he has. Okay.
But, all right. So today we are doing a topic that will surprise you. Purim.
All right.
Okay. So we're going to go through some of the Halakhas of Purim, and then I'm going to share a little slideshow, PowerPoint with you as well.
You didn't really finish last time, did you? We still had some things left over.
Yeah, well, we sort of squeezed in the main parts of Megillah, but we're going to do more the Halakhas. We mentioned it briefly, some of the mitzvahs, but let's go through it. Okay, so first of all, I guess everyone's a few hours ahead of me already. So if you are fasting today, I mean, today is the most lenient fast. So if
What's the leniency?
well, there's several things I was just about to say, but you beat me to it.
Go ahead.
Not that we're looking for leniencies per se, but it just
Right.
happens to be the least strict fast. So we know the strictest fast is Yom Kippur. So Yom Kippur, of course, has nothing to do with any of the other fasts. It's for a totally different reason. It's part of our change of focus to connect to Hashem. Yom Kippur is all about reconnecting, re-strengthening and recreating our relationship with Hashem. And it's part of separating from the materialism of the world. All right? And so when you see a rabbi leaning over a stender, like a, like a lectern type thing with a talus over his head, there's not a lunchbox under there. He's separating from the world and staying focused. So that's Yom Kippur. So it's the only fast from the Torah itself. It's one of the 613 mitzvahs. Is we do inuyim. They translate it as afflicting oneself, but it's not really the right word. Where we don't eat or drink or wash for pleasure, etc. Leather shoes, marital relations. Okay, so that's Yom Kippur. Then we have 4 fasts associated with the destruction of the Beis Mikdash. So the main one, of course, is Tisha B'Av, is the day that the Beis Mikdash itself was destroyed. But we have different days. The 10th of Tavis is when they besieged Jerusalem. The 7th of Tammuz, they broke through the walls. The 3rd of Tishrei is the fast of Gedalia. That was when the Jewish governor was assassinated. It was the end of Jewish self-rule and the end of Jewish majority in Israel. And there's never been, well, now we have a Jewish majority in the country, the state of Israel, but we do not have a Jewish majority in the biblical land of Israel, right? Because the biblical land of Israel includes Jordan, parts of Lebanon, parts of Syria, etc. So we've never had a Jewish majority since. So these are the 4 fasts. Those fasts, of course, only apply when there's no Beis Mikdash. When we rebuild the Beis Mikdash, hopefully this afternoon, then we won't need to fast. So when the first Beis Mikdash, first temple was destroyed, they fasted on Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av. And when the second Beis Mikdash was built, they stopped fasting. So these fasts will disappear when we rebuild the Beis Mikdash. In theory, we don't need Mashiach to rebuild the Beis Mikdash. In practice, I see it being quite difficult to remove the mosque that's on the Temple Mount without Mashiach coming and various things. Although there was an Australian non-Jew actually, who tried to blow it up. Just while we're mentioning it, he was a Christian, and he went to Israel, and he joined the army. And while he was there, he found out there was a mosque on the Temple Mount, and that offended his Christian beliefs. And on his last day before he was discharged, he went to try and blow it up. This is in the 70s. The Israeli police shot him in the legs, whatever. So he's still in prison if he's still alive. He's never coming out. So it's always the Australians' fault, right? So, but without Mashiach, I don't see us being able to rebuild it. But like I said, in theory, we don't necessarily have to have Mashiach to build the base of Mikdash. We just have to have a Sanhedrin, one body of rabbis that the entire Jewish people accept their authority. Nothing to it. We can do that without Mashiach, I'm sure.
An easy task.
That's
No
right.
brainer. Right.
Yes. Because Jews regularly agree on everything.
Yeah.
Then that's the next sort of fast. And then we have the Fast of Esther, which is, we mentioned yesterday, reminds us of the war. We had a war on the 13th of Adar. That's when we fought against the enemies in the Purim story. We fasted on that day, and to commemorate that, and the miracle of the victory, we fast. We call it the Fast of Esther because of the 3-day fast, that Esther and all the Jewish people fasted before Esther went to the king. But that's just a reason for its name. It's not why we fast today. So as it's not Yom Kippur, it's not from the Torah. It's not one of the 4 to do with the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, or it's not a tragedy that requires serious teshuvah. So it's the least strict fast. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that we just throw it by the wayside. But Yom Kippur, not to fast, you have to essentially, God forbid, almost be dying, or going to, so something, a serious medical condition that if someone's not going to eat, there's going to be serious issues. The next level down with the fast about the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, it's more person would have to be bedridden, to be quite ill. But this fast, someone's traveling, there's feeling a bit off, maybe a bit of a head cold, whatever it is, feeling faint, so this is the least strict of the fast. So hopefully Hashem should bless us all with amazingly good health, and we should just be able to knock off every fast like it. We blink and that was easy. See, you can't see my girth in the picture, but I have reserves. I have reserves, Baruch Hashem. It's I won't exactly say of a camel's hump, but we store up. Baruch Hashem, we get through the fast. Leon Hara. So
You're adequately have reserves. Yes.
That's it. Have my reserves. Someone said I should lose some of it, but I told them I invested millions into this over the years. I can't lose now. But anyway, that's today. So today, wherever you live, I guess the fast will be a different time. It's going to be at nightfall. We usually take an earlier time for nightfall than we do for Shabbos. 2 reasons. Number 1, Shabbos, we add a little extra. There's a concept called Tosfos Shabbos. So we add a drop to the beginning of Shabbos, we add a drop to the end of Shabbos, because we want to increase the holiness into the weekday. So whatever time you normally have in your calendar where you live, where it says Shabbos comes out, it's usually a few minutes after the technical time. As well as that, as there, are possibly different ways of looking exactly when nightfall is. For Shabbos, we're generally a little bit stricter because it's one of the it's a mitzvah d'oraisa. It's one of the 613 mitzvahs. Well, actually, two of them to be precise. But while a rabbinic fast will take an earlier time. So that's
By us, it's 6 minutes short of 12 hours.
the fast. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you what time it finishes where everyone lives, but you can go to Chabad.org. You put in your zip code, and it'll tell you.
Yeah.
So this evening, this afternoon, if you're going to be at Shul for Mincha, going to read the Torah. There's a Haftarah, all in honor of the fast. This evening, when the fast is over, so I think we mentioned briefly the other day that ideally we shouldn't eat or drink before we hear the Megillah. In practice, though, I recommend everyone to eat or drink, at least drink before they hear the Megillah, because Shulchan Aruch itself says that if you're feeling a little bit weak, or it's going to be hard to concentrate on the Megillah, then you're allowed to have something. You're allowed to taste something. And I think most people today, we're a little bit spoiled. Thank God we are spoiled, right? Back in the day in Eastern Europe, when people had 2 meals a day, one meal was black bread and onion, and the other meal was black bread and sardines. And if you were wealthy, black bread and herring.
Herring, that's
right. So in which case, if you went another 2 hours not eating, it didn't really affect people that much. People were used to, they were unfortunately used to being hungry. Today, thank God we are spoiled, and fasts are probably more difficult for us, whether it's physically or psychologically, but whatever it is. But as well as that, if you really want to concentrate on the Megillah, it's good to at least have had a drink. Some people need their caffeine. It depends on what they're used to. And then, there's nothing worse at a Purim party of having a room full of grumpy, hungry, tired people. That's not Purim. At least have a little something beforehand and get in the mood. Do be careful what you have. Not a good idea after fasting to straight away go for a l'chaim. We had unfortunately, a few years ago, a fellow who we had not met before came to our shul, and we served some refreshments, and he had a l'chaim. Well, he ate a bit more than a l'chaim, and someone came in and said, "Don't let him drink. It doesn't work well with his medication." And I see his now empty cup, and I'm thinking to myself, "Whoops!" But I didn't realize how whoops it was until when we started the booing from Haman. He didn't just boo; he used all kinds of expressions about Haman, which I don't even use in private, never mind in public. It was very exciting. The children's vocabulary got expanded. Unfortunately, it was quite an event. So not the best way to go about it. Now we have 3 brachas before the Megillah. Now, normally when you hear a bracha, someone says Baruch Atah, and they say Hashem's name. We answer Baruch Shemai, blesses Hashem and blesses his name, because someone's blessing is Hashem's name, and we want to join in the blessing. When someone is saying a bracha for us as well, so for example, everyone has a mitzvah to say Kiddush on Friday night, but often one person says it for many people. So they're saying the bracha for the listeners, not only for themselves, but on behalf of the listeners as well. So when the listener, they're not only listening to someone else make a bracha, but they're listening to a bracha that's being said for them. We can't say Baruch Shemai, because that would then be an interruption in the middle of the bracha. And we can't interrupt our own bracha. And although someone else is saying it, but they're saying it for us. So these 3 brachas before the Megillah, we don't say Baruch Shemai. We still say Amen, which means we agree and we say it should be so. And the three blessings, the three brachas before the Megillah. The first one is actually thanking Hashem for giving us opportunity to make ourselves spiritual and holy through mitzvahs. And we have the mitzvah of reading the Megillah. The second one is thanking Hashem for the miracles that happened in the past and should happen in the future, in the current time. And the third one is Shechianu, where we thank Hashem for keeping us alive for another milestone. You know, it's not that we should be pessimistic. You know, some people, say they never buy green bananas. By all means, buy as many green bananas. But nevertheless, at every time there's a milestone, we should have an appreciation that we made it. It's and again, Hashem should bless us with many, many years, all of us, many years of good health, and we should make many, many milestones. But we shouldn't take them for granted. We should be able to say the Shechianu and appreciate that another Purim we're here. So the Shechianu at night goes on the Megillah. The other mitzvahs are only daytime mitzvahs. However, it's possible you might fulfill some daytime mitzvahs before you say Shechianu during the day. So for an example, you might come to shul and there's someone collecting the matanos of yonim for gifts to the poor, and we'll discuss it more detail shortly. And you may give this. So normally the Shechianu on the daytime Megillah goes on all the daytime mitzvahs. But it's possible that we will fulfill some of the daytime mitzvahs before we read the Megillah. Giving to the poor, possibly even exchanging food presents, the Mitzvah of Monus, which we'll also speak about shortly. And if you do that before the Megillah reading of the day, it can happen. So when we say Shechianu at night, we should also have in mind the mitzvahs that we're going to do or possibly will do before we say Shechianu again tomorrow. Was that confusing, or hopefully that made sense? Right. So that's tonight. So we have to hear every word. So if we miss any words, possibly we have to hear it again. So we've really got to pay attention. Now, for many people, if they don't understand Hebrew, then every word they hear just sounds like mumble, 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 because since they're not familiar with the words, they're not going to make out specific words. They don't recognize them. But as long as you actually heard it, you don't necessarily need to understand the words. It's nice if we do, and at least those who joined us over the last week know what it's saying to a large extent. But if you don't understand, just by hearing it, you have fulfilled the obligation. So tonight, the Megillah, if you happen to be in Phoenix, we won't be reading before 7:20 or 7:30 probably even. So I don't know if anyone actually has time to make it from wherever you are, but if you are, that's right. So one of the four mitzvahs is to hear Megillah at night and day. Okay, Purim day. So we now have four mitzvahs again, because we're going to read the Megillah a second time. That's the same idea. When we hear the brachas, they're being said for us. So we do not say Baruch Hu Shemai. We do say Amen, and we hear every word. Then we have the mitzvah of Mitzvah of Monus, right, of giving food gifts to another Jew. Now, to fulfill this mitzvah, you have to give to at least one person, right? And it usually ends up we give quite a few more than one, but we should at least give to one person. And this gift should have two foods, although some people have a custom that the food should be two brachas. doesn't have to be 2 brachas. It has to be 2 tastes, 2 different types of taste. So, if someone would give, let's say, 2 types of bread, it's the same general taste. So it would have to be, let's say a challah, and instead of now a different type of bread, you would give something else. Cheese, candy, whatever it is. Any food, any kosher food, and we give it to another Jew to show that we have, we love each other. So the
butter with the challah, is butter okay? Is butter considered a food, or is
well, if it's spread on the bread already, it'll probably become nullified to the bread. But if you gave it separately in a container, then that would be okay.
Thank you.
No problems. Then there's 2 possible reasons why we give Mitzvah of Monus. One is to show our love of a fellow Jew, because Haman claimed that we were separated. The other is to give people something to eat at the Purim feast, which is one of the other mitzvahs. So depending which reason affects which food we could give. So let's say raw meat. Okay, so if you gave raw meat, so when it comes to showing love to each other, a raw steak is very nice. I mean, I'm probably going to cook it before I eat it, but still getting a steak is very nice. But if it's for something to eat at the Seudah, at the Purim feast, then you can't eat raw meat. So we need to try and give something that's actually ready to consume. So there is a view even that if you would give a canned food, so some cans have the ring pull, but if it's the regular can is a can opener, then you might have to give a can opener as well, because otherwise they can't be eaten. Of course, this is only for the one with which you're fulfilling the mitzvah. Once you've given one, you can pretty much give anything. And ideally, it is to give people something to eat at the meal, the Purim feast. I don't recall if I shared the story, but 15 or so years ago, our family, we literally did not have anything to eat at the Purim Seudah that year, and we literally did not have a penny to buy anything. So Baruch Hashem, we're not in that situation this year. It's not a hint, right? We're far from it, but thank God. But that year, literally nothing. And I had no idea how we're going to actually fill the midst of having the Purim feast. So I was teaching 8th grade in a school at the time, 20-odd students, and I don't know if every one of them brought Mitzvah of Monus, but most of them did. They all live sort of locally. And one of them brought a cold cuts platter. One of them had, or more than one of them had challahs in the Mitzvah of Monus. There was wine, cake. I think you name salad. We got salads. We probably had one of the best Purim Seudas we ever had. So that's really one of the ideas behind it. So the next mitzvah Matanos Evyonim. Now an Evyon is someone who really doesn't have anything. It's beyond regular poor. Thank God today there aren't so many Evyonim. There's not so many people who fit this category. Unfortunately, there still are. But used to be in the past, in Jewish history, there were times where perhaps the majority of the town, fit into that category. Thank God it's not the case today. But unfortunately, there's still too many people who don't have anything. So we need to give something to at least 2 different Evyonim. If you know people in the situation, well, you can give the red. sometimes it's nicer to give through a third party so people don't feel embarrassed. But if you know someone, there's who to give it to. And most shuls will have a fund or two funds that they collect and they'll give out to the people. There are many on the internet. And if you're not getting emails, I mean, I must have got about 40 of them today already from different organizations. We try to at least give something to as many as we can. But if you're not fortunate enough to be on those email lists, then any of the Rabbi Meir Balanais funds, so Kol Chabad, you can go with just do Google search, Kol Chabad, Kol Beloin, Kol Poland, or any of these funds, and unfortunately they have a very long list. Well, fortunately they have the list, but unfortunately it needs to be a long list, and they'll distribute it on the day. So that's Matas of Yonim. Now, besides that, anyone who asks for tzedakah on Purim, we're not meant to say no. So it's always good to have a pocket full of either singles or quarters, or if you're in a good enough position, $100 bills, whatever happens to be, and so you can give something to everyone. Now, of course, the Yetzer Hara doesn't come to us and say worship idols, right? Because we're not going to listen. So the Yetzer Hara comes to us and tries to fool us to think we're being very frum when we're not. So one of the tricks of the Yetzer Hara today, because in reality, we have these two mitzvahs, Matanos of Yonim, giving food gifts to our friends, Mitzvah of Monus, giving food gifts to our friends, Matanos of Yonim, giving monetary gifts to the poor. We should spend more on Matanos of Yonim, on the monetary gifts. We should help people. The Yetzer Hara comes to us and tells us we have to have all these different kinds of themes for our food gifts and fancy packaging. And, we spend 15 years writing poems and all kinds of. Now, I'm not saying it shouldn't be made cute, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be made nice. But sometimes the amount that is spent on Mitzvah of Monus, and we have to give to, the whole city, then for the gifts to the poor, it's like, oh, okay, I'll give something here and something there. So by all means, give out as many Mitzvah of Monus as you like and you can, and it should be as nice as you would like to make them. But we need to make sure that we should spend at least the same, if not more, on the Matanos of Yonim, on the gifts to the poor. As well as that, on Purim, it's very important to learn Torah. And again, the Yetzer Hara comes and tells us we have to spend the whole day in the car delivering Shalach Monus to, my second cousin's uncles, dogs, owners, friends. It's this guy that I once said hello to 20 years ago. So I've got to go deliver him this fancy, this drive, and meanwhile, there's no time to learn anything. Now, of course, you can play Torah lessons in the car. Those who are able to play from the internet in the car, we have, I suggest the TorahAnytime.com. If you're not familiar with the speakers, Rabbi Fishel Schechter is usually very entertaining, as well as being very profound. So you could do both, but we shouldn't forget to learn something. Of course, the fourth mitzvah of Purim is the Purim feast. Now, again, the Yetzer Hara comes and tells us sometimes on Purim to drink a little bit more than we should. And officially it's for good reasons. But then unfortunately, when we drink a little bit more than we should, we don't bench properly. We don't say our grace after meals at the Purim feast. We can't daven the Ma'ariv, the evening service. We may even say or do something that we shouldn't say or do. So because Purim is so powerful and so holy, the Yetzer Hara put so much effort to trying to ruin it. You know, a chassid once came to the Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Chabad Rebbe, the Babish Rebbe, and he came to him and he's told him that while he's davening, while he's saying his prayers, he has the most terrible thoughts come into his mind. And, you know, he wants advice how to solve this problem. So he says there's the most terrible thoughts. And the Tzemach Tzedek tells him, a good job. You know, keep davening the way you are. So he's a bit confused. He thinks maybe the Rabbi didn't hear what he said. So he says, I told the Rabbi I have these really bad, terrible thoughts. So he says, good job, keep it up. Third time, he tells him again. The third time he gets told to keep it up, he's totally confused. He says, Rabbi, I don't understand. I'm saying I have these terrible thoughts in the middle of my davening, and you're saying, good job, keep it up. You know, could the Rabbi please explain it to me? So the Tzemach Tzedek explains to him an idea that's written in the Tanya. Is a parable that when two people are wrestling, if one is not trying very hard, the other one doesn't have to try very hard. As soon as one person puts in a lot of effort, the opponent has to put in a lot of effort as well, otherwise he'll be taken down. So he says to him, if your Yetzer Hara is putting so much effort into trying to ruin your davening, you must be doing a good job. Because if your davening was lousy, your Yetzer Hara wouldn't care. So since you're doing a good job, just keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing, and you'll overcome. That's what he told him. So because Purim is so holy, so powerful, that's why the Yetzer Hara put so much effort into trying to ruin it with us, you know, getting all sidetracked into all the side points and forgetting the main point. That's what happens. So we need to try and stay focused. And we said that Purim is so holy. It is so holy that we know that Yom Kippur is often referred to as Yom Kippurim, the day that is somewhat like Purim. So Yom Kippur, which we normally think of as the holiest day of the year, and in a certain respect it is. In another respect, it's just a little bit like Purim. Purim is far greater, right? And there's many reasons for this. One of the reasons that Purim shows how Hashem is involved in our day-to-day life. You know, it's the hidden miracle is sometimes greater, in a certain respect, is greater than a revealed miracle. From one respect, when you see a revealed miracle, it's like, wow, Hashem changed nature. That shows how great it was. But a hidden miracle is, you know, like the parent behind the scenes. You know, you have your 7-year-old that makes a chocolate cake, and really all the 7-year-old did was make all the mess. And his mother really made the chocolate cake. But he thinks he made the chocolate cake. And he feels $1 million. Look what I did. So a hidden miracle is like that. You know, we divine providence, you know, but we think we did something. You know, Hashem's our parent hidden behind the scenes. And that's a greater level of love. That level of love where the parent doesn't need to take credit. They don't need to be praised. They're just happy for their child because they love them so much. And so this shows a greater level of love. And so in a certain respect, Purim shows the greatest love of Hashem to the Jewish people. So we're told that when Mashiach comes, all the festivals are going to be nullified to a certain extent. And one of the two, they're going to remain standing. We're going to see how, at least as big as they are now, if not greater. One of them is Purim. So before we discuss that, I just want to mention, what does it mean when the others are going to become nullified? We're still going to have Pesach. So I hope that makes you happy. And not someone going, oh no, I still have to Pesach clean, right? We're still going to have Pesach and do the mitzvahs and eat matzah and have a seder. But just to give a parable, imagine there was this homeless fellow, God forbid, we should never know from these things, but this person who was homeless, and he was given or he bought, one of these scratch it lottery things, and he wins $5,000. Well, that was enough for him to put a deposit, get a small apartment, can wash properly, buy himself a suit, and he was go for job interviews. He got himself a job, and it changed his life. And every year, on the anniversary of the day he won this $5,000, he had a special meal, a party to celebrate. Anyway, 10 years later, he wins one of those $500 million lotteries. He's a lucky fellow. But his original winning, which he used to celebrate the 5,000, although it did change his life, but to a large extent, it's paled into insignificance. It's not as exciting anymore. He still observes it, because without that, he wouldn't have even been in a position to get the other lottery ticket. And it certainly changed his life for the better in the interim. But it's not as a huge event in his life after he's won 500 million as it was before. So this helps us understand, we look at the redemption from Egypt. It's incredible. We went and got the Torah. It's changed our life. We became the Jewish people. It's amazing. And every year we, so to speak, on the anniversary, we have our celebration, we have the Pesach. But when Mashiach comes, the redemption, the change to the world, to our perception of spirituality, our connection to Hashem, Pesach is just going to pale into insignificance, like the 5,000 compared to the 500 million, maybe even more so. Now, we're still going to observe it. The mitzvahs aren't going to disappear. We're still going to have all the mitzvahs, but it won't have the same significance as we have now. Purim, though, which till now, the spirituality, the godliness, it was a hidden miracle, was all hidden. Mashiach comes, we're going to see it. So it's actually going to grow in significance. We're going to see exactly how powerful it really was. Right, any questions on that? Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, I wanted to know why can we stop the fast of Tisha B'Av, but we don't stop the Purim test? What should happen? Only the Mashiach can stop it?
No, because Tisha B'Av is a day of mourning over the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash.
Right.
So when the Beis Hamikdash is rebuilt, there's nothing to mourn over.
Okay. Well,
So
she fasted to save the Jewish people. They're saved.
That's not what we
Why are
fast.
we
We fast to
fasting?
commemorate the fast the ancestors had on the day of the war. And that war, we miraculously, the actual war may not have been miraculous per se, because everything was put into place that we should win it. But the fact that everything came into place in advance, that was part of the miracle. So it's really associated with the celebration. The Fast of Esther is not to do with destruction. The four fasts have to do with destruction. When there's the rebuilding, the destruction is over. All other festivals, which includes fasts, have their own reasons. So that's going to stay in place. Okay, so we're going to try share screen for a minute. Okay. Problem is though, no, I can't get to the, okay.
cost.
But, yeah.
So I told him,
Okay. Does everyone see the picture?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So
Yes.
let's move this out of the way. So this is the ruins of Persepolis, right? It's the Persian capital, not Shushan. And now it's not letting me go to the next screen. Why isn't it doing that? Okay, so we discussed this in the introduction. We said there were people who said that the miracle of Purim cannot be true. They had two proofs. Proof number one, the capital of the Persian Empire was not Shushan, but in fact it was Persepolis. And number two, they claimed that the Persians did not build palaces in the style described in the Megillah. So they all laughed at the silly Jews who believed in the story of the Megillah. Nevertheless, they found it. So we you can read the history, but I'm just not going to just briefly mention what happened is they found cuneiform tablets. They eventually learned how to decipher, how to read cuneiform by the walls, which we're going to show one of them shortly, that around the Persian Empire that archaeologists uncovered that had laws or histories, depends which one, in 3 languages. So there was the ancient Greek and the Aramaic and cuneiform. And from finding a few of these, they were able to decipher cuneiform. And when they did that, they found that one of the tablets they had said that the capital moved temporarily to Shushan for 17 years because of war and famine. So they went there and they discovered it. So you can you see my mouse? Can I move it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the layout of what they found over here. And on the right, this is a, they tried to 3D render it. But to give a better idea, this is it. So this is the city, the town that's called Susan today. It's down here is the town. Now, if you look over here, is a Crusader castle. So pretty large Crusader castle. All of this is the palace complex. So, like 4 or 5 times the size of the Crusader castle. So it was very large. Now, this is the Apanda. This is the outdoor area that they, the king's party, the weak party of Shushan was pillars that held up a roof. So it's a little small to read, but we have over here we have 13 sections that we have a verse mentioned, and we actually see it in the palace. It's here. So they all said, oh, they didn't build palaces like that. Well, but they did, because we found it. And I don't know why my mouse is gone now. Here it is. So this is the King's Gate, right? This was outside the complex. This is where the servants would wait. It says the Apanda, all of this here was the harem, where he kept these hundreds of all the girls that came for the. We had the outer courtyard. This is where Haman comes to, etc. We've got the gardens, the famous gardens that he went out to, or at least he went to a balcony over there. This is the courtyard. The women's house. This is where he went out to this courtyard to look at his gardens. The king, when Esther revealed that Haman was the one that wanted to destroy the Jewish people. So all here. This is showing how they transported wooden beams. And in Shushan is an inscription that they found from Achiverish, because when he went there as the king, he expanded it. There was a palace beforehand, but it wasn't the main palace. And when he went there, he expanded the palace, and there's a little like a cornerstone.
Do they show where Esther was standing until Ahasuerus saw her when she was going to give him the message?
Well, she would have been in the women's quarters. So the women's quarters are around here.
It said she stood in the yard. So
Yeah. So this is the courtyard of the women's section.
okay.
This is the gate. Goes there.
I want to buy splinters of the gallows that Haman made. I have some. I got them on a deal.
Okay. It's interesting. So, well, this is just a foundation tablet in the main capital. So this is Achiverish, 127 countries or provinces. It's his places. Now,
Where
the
is
Persian
Kush?
Empire were the Persians and the Medes together. It was a joint effort. So they had a Persian king and a Mede assistant king. And even when they lined up, they had a Persian and a Mede, Persian and a Mede. So you see the different uniforms, right? So that they were all equal. So in the Apanda, this Padna, the outdoor area where the big party was. So they've got the bases of the columns. It's since in ruins, but this is in a museum somewhere. This is one of the columns that they've restored, and that wooden piece held up the roof. There are some vessels that they found when the archaeological dig around Shushan. So quite possibly, one of these might even be from the base of Mikdash. We don't know, because they were taken there. But these are things that they found in the dig.
Look at the stamp on the bottom. Usually there's a number, a letter.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they did that then. This is one of the walls from the palace. Now, all these tiles had crumbled on the floor. They've rebuilt it. This is in a museum somewhere. This is from the Shushan Palace. This is how the walls were decorated. This is one of these walls with the 3 languages. So there's one language, and another language, another language. Picture's not clear enough to see which one's which, but it's one of the walls that they used to learn how to decipher cuneiform. They found several of these around the ancient Persian Empire. Now, this is a tablet in cuneiform that contains the name Mordechai. As I cannot read cuneiform, I can't tell you which part of it says Mordechai, but apparently this says Mordechai in it somewhere. This was found there. This is another wall from inside the palace. The tiles again, it's been rebuilt, restored. This is a signet ring that they found. This probably isn't Achashverish's signet ring that he gave to Haman, but it was the type of signet ring that they had in the Persian Empire at the time. Some other tablets that they found. You've got Achashverish's name on these. Now, this is back to these, again, this is the palace. This is the Crusader castle. This is the city of, or the town of Susan. This building here is the tomb of Daniel, the prophet Daniel, who in the Megillah is called Chasach or Chatach, depending on your pronunciation, that Haman killed him. And this is the inside of that building. So he was buried in right there in Shushan. Interestingly, the Bukharians have a the Bukharian Jews have a tradition that he's buried there, and they have a tomb that they also feel is his tomb. So I'm not sure. I'm not going to dig them up and do a DNA test to see which one's which, but this is traditionally been the Daniel's tomb.
Who administers it now? Who's in charge of it?
Well, it's in Iran, so
So it's Muslims.
yeah. This is Achiverish. So you can see his scepter. Now, people normally think of his scepter being a short little thing like European kings had, but this is a relief of Achiverish with his scepter. Now, again, doesn't want to go to the next slide. Okay. This is a cuneiform tablet that speaks about the assassination of Achiverish. So the Gemara tells us, well, the Gemara doesn't say exactly what happened. Tom doesn't say exactly what happened, but the implication is that there was foul play. But this tablet speaks about the assassination was possibly even just 3 years after the end of the Megillah. So that was, Achiverish didn't last long afterwards. Now this is the tomb of Mordechai and Esther. It's in Hamadan, also in Iran. Not the safest place for Jews to go to. There was a fellow a few years ago went in disguised as a Muslim with a camera concealed in his outfit. So we'll watch the video that he took. So this is the outer room of the tomb. And although Jews are not taking care of it today, but you can see there's plenty of Hebrew around as well as the Parsi. So this was the outer room. And there was people davening there. Still a mezuzah. Okay, he's going down to the main part of the tomb, and you'll see there's two monuments over graves. The red one, the one with the red covering is Mordechai. The one with the blue covering is Esther.
So this is all under the control of one of the modern day Hamans. That's very weird.
I guess so. Although, thank God for propaganda, because they try to give the propaganda that they are not anti-Semitic, they're just anti-Israel, anti-Zionist. So therefore, they do protect these Jewish sites. And although I wouldn't exactly say that the Jews in Iran are living there freely, but relative to other countries like Syria and various places, they have a degree of protection that they don't have elsewhere in the Arab world. There's another little small room, which was used for minyanim, people to daven. Okay.
Rabbi, do you
Yeah.
think that the Iranian leaders are allowing that because of respect or fear?
I don't know.
In Esther, they're Nevi'im also. They say they
Yeah.
believe in the prophets.
Yeah, it could be because they also have respect for them because the Quran, so to speak, swallowed parts of Tanakh. It could be. Now, after the Purim story, when the Jewish people went back and the Persian king gave them permission to build walls around the city of Yerushalayim, and so this is part of the wall built by Nehemiah is still standing today. You can go there in Jerusalem. So that's something still there. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So I hope that was interesting for people.
Very interesting.
See, actually see Shushan. It's not just this mythological place. It really exists. Really, these we don't need to see these things to know what it says in Torah is true. It's not that we need to know it's true, but it makes it, we feel it more real when we can actually, you see the place and you see how it went. Okay, we've got a minute or two left. Any questions on Purim or the Megillah or anything?
What's your costume this year?
Just a hat. Don't wear a hat. I did in school yesterday. They played a game, Escape from Persia. The elementary students. So they had a passport. They had to go to all the characters from the Purim story and get the signature in their passport. Of course, there were guards going around. If they caught them, would erase the signature. And somehow I was volunteered to be Haman. So I was Haman yesterday. And I have to say, out of all the kids who came, and I ordered them all to bow down to me, and not one of them did. That's what happened. Not one of the kids bowed down. All right. So we'll wish everyone easy what's left of the fast.
That's your version of 22,000 children.
You should have the most joyous, spiritually uplifting, and meaningful Purim. And yesterday, when I said, I won't see you again before Purim or Shabbos, and we ended up that we did. So I won't say that it won't happen again, but just in case I don't see you before Shabbos, have a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you.
Rabbi.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Happy
Bye, everyone.
Shabbos.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care.